Welcome to TOUSSI Talks. I'm your host, TOUSSI, and in this week's episode, I sat down with communications coach, consultant, and speaker Lila Smith. And although we were on limited time, I genuinely enjoyed my conversation with Lila. What initially caught my attention was that she combines her previous experience working in theater into a thoughtful and intentional communication method. She spends a good amount of her time consulting with companies and individuals on how they could clarify their message. She's also the creator of the hashtag Say Things Better campaign, where she has helpful videos and content that you can check out. And I really do hope to have her on another time, maybe in part 2. But for now, I hope you enjoy the podcast and thank you for tuning in. This broadcast is brought to you in part by BitcoinBasics.org, helping you get started with Bitcoin. Lila Smith, how are you today?
I'm good. Hi, Arash.
Thank you so much for joining me. I greatly
Thanks for
appreciate your
having
time.
me.
Yeah, I look forward
We
to
had such a great conversation the other day, and I was really excited to have some more time with you to
Awesome.
dive deeper and just get into some stuff, some good stuff.
Me as well. Why don't you introduce yourself for everyone who doesn't know you already?
Sure. I'm Lila Smith. I spent 10 years as a professional actress,
Mhm.
and now I work in advising people on their communication strategy, whether that's interpersonal communication or communication throughout their business or marketing. So, anywhere that you have to communicate something effectively and it's really important to you, that's when you come to me. I actually have a 5-step method called Say Things Better, which I created based on tools that I used in acting and directing and stage management, but mostly acting. You know, we take techniques and methods as an actor to heart because we have to show up as something very real on stage for
Mhm.
people to connect to an artistic expression of fictional circumstances and feel like they're in a moment, that they're a fly on the wall, or that they're watching something live. To
Right.
make that kind of magic happen, you
Mhm.
really need to have strong technique. You know, everybody's got their own way of working. I've studied in a lot of different methods, including the Stanislavski system for actors, the Lee Strasberg method, the Meisner technique, Stella Adler, and her work. And I've studied all of them. So taking little bits of each of those pieces, building them into my method, and removing the fictional circumstances that are there when you are working with somebody else's script
Right.
means that we can still take those same tools to bring our message to life, but it's
Mhm.
actually our message. It's something that really means something to us.
Right. And I think like that's what I found most beautiful is that that's where I discovered you was with your Say Things Better campaign. And I just want to
Thank you.
know what is the motivation behind your 5-step intentional communication program
Well, for
or
people who use
concept?
it, or for me too, I mean, the concept is
Yeah.
basically everybody wants something, right? Whenever you talk to somebody, everyone wants to get something out of it. For me, I feel so good talking to you. You make me feel so good
Mhm.
that this is like a spa treatment for me. It's very relaxing and rejuvenating to talk to somebody who thinks philosophically and will let me
I
go
appreciate
deep into my own thoughts and not have to hold back because you won't get what I'm saying, or that you'll make me feel weird, you know, that. So
right.
for me, it's the experience that brings me to this communication event here
Mhm.
that feels so good to me. But it could also be that I want to reach your listeners, and
Mhm.
that if they are also my communication partner,
Mhm.
my objective with them might be to get them interested in exploring the Say Things Better method, booking me as a coach or speaker,
Mhm.
or for a workshop for their company.
Mhm.
That could be also an objective for
Mhm.
me for this communication event.
Mhm.
So everybody has something that they want to get out of something
Of
at
course.
all times, even the best of us, right? We all want to get something, even if it's that feel good feeling.
Right.
And then the other side of that is there's another person there.
Mhm.
When you watch a scene on stage or in a movie, you're watching actors relentlessly try to achieve their character's objective.
Right.
But there's another character in that scene who's doing the same thing. And
Mhm.
we all want something. So, of course, they are.
Right.
Right. So, I have taken my tools in acting, but instead of just showing up as yourself to effectively achieve your objective, My method focuses on the other person. What do they need to feel and experience and get out of a communication event that you are uniquely poised to give them?
Mm-hmm.
And how can you really show up and give them everything that they need so that by the time you make an ask, it's not really an ask, it's an offering. It's, I'm giving you the chance to do this with me, that we can partner together.
Right.
So taking that dramatic conflict that you see in theater where one person's objective and the other scene partner for them has a different objective, those things conflicting makes very interesting stuff to watch, right? When people want different things and they're in a conversation, that's dramatic conflict. That's what it's called.
Right.
And with my method, we're trying not to have that. We don't want dramatic conflict. We want collaboration. We
Mm-hmm.
want unity. We want people to come together in partnership that feels good. For
Right.
me, this is how I save the world, by giving people the tools to build real partnerships and sustainable relationships.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Lila, what would you say is one of the biggest barriers to clear and effective communication?
I think when people are just not intentional about what they want to get across.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things is that I use to address that is setting your objective.
Mm-hmm.
So being clear, what do you want to get out of this?
Right.
And that keeps you on message and it keeps you focused.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps you from trailing off into a lot of different directions that can be very confusing for the other person. They don't understand what your ask is, they don't understand what you offer.
Mm-hmm.
So your message gets diluted.
Right.
And then if you're not intentional with the way that you set out to make somebody else feel, then you could end up with lazy communication, accidentally offending somebody,
Mm-hmm.
or leaving someone out. So
Okay.
being prepared helps, setting your objective helps, and using the fifth step in my method, if I can skip ahead to that, is
Please.
these verbs, that actors use. Like when we go to a scene to communicate with somebody else, we
Mm-hmm.
set these verbs for ourselves using Stella Adler's technique of actions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm saying, I'm going to do this to Arash in order to communicate effectively.
Right.
So, I want, maybe it's, I want to seduce Arash, or maybe it's to amuse Arash,
Right.
or like whatever it is that I think is going to connect to you, but
Right.
that's also native to my own values. So it
Right.
doesn't feel inauthentic.
Of
You just
course.
have to remember who you are sometimes. And people forget when they get so caught up and so cerebral and
Mm-hmm.
so tied to what are the exact perfect words for me to use. I don't have a script for this conversation.
Right.
And I think that shows. I think that I don't look perfect,
Of
but you
course.
know what I'm trying to say and why I'm trying to say it. So people
Exactly.
get an experience of a relationship with me
That's
and then they
right.
understand who I am.
Right. And authenticity is just so incredibly important. I want to know what motivates you? I know you have a great ambition to help entrepreneurs. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, oh, sure. I mean, entrepreneurs are people who have started something because it means so much to them.
Mhm.
And I really want to communicate with people and work with them and partner with them and superpower them with what I have once they already know what they want to do. I'm not somebody who's like a business coach who helps you decide what your
Mhm.
best business is or what the structure of your business is. I can provide that kind of insight, and a lot of that does come out in my toolbox sessions where
Mhm.
we see what your unique value proposition is, what's
Right.
your differentiator, and are you actually doing enough in your business right now that relies on that. So it does come up.
Mhm.
But entrepreneurs
Mhm.
have started something because it's in their heart,
Mhm.
it's consuming them in their mind,
Mhm.
and they are single minded in their approach of this.
Right.
So I want to support those people. I've got that fire in me too.
That's
I
awesome.
work for myself and I see that and I get it and I want my fire to be fueled by those people and I want to fuel theirs back and give them the tools that they need to keep stoking that fire and to
Right.
let other people see it and to let people connect with them, not just about what their life story is and why they should care about this person,
Mhm.
but what about their business is going to be so successful because that is the person who started it. If you
Absolutely.
started something, you're bringing your context to it. And
Mhm.
that means that your business is going to be more successful in some ways than if I started the same business. And
Right.
if I started the same business, my business would be more successful in some ways. So it's pulling out those points of success. And
Mhm.
how do you use those when you pitch to investors? How do you use those when you create your web content? How do you highlight those things when you're creating content for LinkedIn and video, or what you talk about when you're on a podcast? So I
Mhm.
always tell people, I've been in theater, I've spent 10 years as a professional actress, because that's my context.
Mhm.
Somebody else talking about communication is going to have a different approach, a different tack. And maybe even if they have 10 years in performing, it might be improv, it might be film. Mine is in theater, live theater. And I think that that sets me apart in
You
a very
still work
unique
in
way.
theater? Do you
What's
still
that?
work? Do you still work in theater?
No, I don't. Now I only
Okay.
do this.
Oh,
So,
really?
in one way, I feel like I'm constantly in theater because I'm using my acting tools all the time and
Right.
talking about it constantly. So
Right.
my head is very much still in the game. And
I
I
see.
go and I watch a lot of performances because I
Right.
love it so much.
Right.
But
And
I don't miss it, because right now I am fully creatively active and I'm
mhm,
using all those tools, but I'm not bound by somebody else's script. And
that's
I'm not
fantastic.
bound by the end of a line is the end of my opportunity, that I still have a whole world of possibility for connection.
That's beautiful. And you know what? I
Thank you.
really commend what you do for entrepreneurs. We need more people like you. We need more support. I mean, the more that we can get and the more that we can exchange information and make it mutual, I mean, it's all for the greater good of the cause. And that leads me to ask you, what can you delve into what you do at Tech Wildcatters?
Yeah. I came into Tech Wildcatters in July
Hmm.
as chief communication mentor. So if there's a communication issue that comes up, no matter what it is, I'm there for them.
Hmm.
So sometimes that's strategy for how Ricky, the CEO, is going to be submitting a panel idea for South by Southwest, just to use an example. And on this application, it asked questions about, who are the speakers, what's the diversity in the panel.
Hmm.
So in the question itself, that this communication partner, the South by Southwest panel review board,
Hmm.
that they value diversity of speakers, diversity of thought, background, ethnicity, age, all of that. And there was even a little info button to get more information about what they thought this diversity was.
Right.
That tells me twice it's important to them. So asking Ricky, like, are you including something like that? What is the diversity of the people on the panel?
Hmm.
And, it was these three men who are all Asian, who are all around the same age, and they had a very diverse backgrounds. But they were all sort of the same role in accelerator programs and startup accelerator programs, or as investors. And I wanted to hear from somebody who had received the advice from them that they had to give, so that it would be clear, like what happens on the other end.
Hmm.
Adding the nuance to the conversation makes it more of a diverse panel, makes it more attractive to that communication partner, being the South by Southwest Review Committee. And so I said, what about a woman? What about a person of color, like a different color, what about somebody who's a different age? And immediately he said, oh, well, this person. And he added her in and then called her and he said, by the way, you're in my South by Southwest panel proposal. But it can be that easy. It just has to take somebody to ask you, are you really thinking about all the tools in your toolbox that can help this person achieve their objective?
Right.
So if the South by Southwest panel has the objective of being inclusive and having an actively diverse population of speakers,
Hmm.
you be the solution for that.
Right.
Don't propose something to them that leaves out a lot of the tools that you have at your disposal. He has unbelievable connections. So just as an example of something that I did to help him
Hmm.
directly, I've helped interns, like this guy Connor is an intern there, and I helped him redo his LinkedIn profile so that it would be more clear that he was a specialist in the curriculum for entrepreneurs, and that he himself does business consulting for startups and entrepreneurs, and helping to say, like, here are the things that I've learned at Tech Wildcatters, here are the things I've learned at school,
Hmm.
and put that into his profile so that people would know he's still young, he's still new, but he has a lot to offer. And
Hmm.
being very clear about what that is only reflects better on Tech Wildcatters to have everybody on their team be able to speak about what they do with confidence.
Of course.
And then I've led their entrepreneurs and the startups who've gone through the gauntlet, which is their proprietary 5-stage process of guidance
Right.
for these entrepreneurs who are in their startup accelerator program. And
Great.
I've helped them with pitch presentation practice, helped them with identifying the values of their organization and how to express those. What are their verbs?
Hmm.
I did a Verb Your Values workshop that I posted about on LinkedIn a few weeks ago for Mainland, which is like the eHarmony of platonic friendships, where they really match you based on a lot of things beyond demographics. It's your interest, it's your humor.
Really?
And this is a great platform. Yeah.
Mhm.
My friend Rachel Armstrong, who is the CEO and founder of this company, is currently looking for a partner to be a co-founder and a chief technology officer. So if you know of anybody, I'm looking to help her to connect with somebody like that. But I did this workshop for her
Mhm.
when we were in Austin,
Mhm.
and I helped her to identify what the verbs were for her company.
Mhm.
And I think one was like to befriend, one was to connect, and one was to include. I think that those are the three. I'd have to go back to it. But even if we just do like to befriend, if we just take that one verb,
Mhm.
if that's part of the mission statement, you're super objective for a company,
Mhm.
where can you put that in all of the touch points of your communication? So
Ah,
we mapped out for one communication event, which was the Mainland Resource Center, where they'll have a lot of content like coaching people through making new friendships and things like that.
mhm.
It'll be video content and coaches, and part of this model that people can go and really get resources to make new friends in a new area and build sustainable relationships, show up as themselves.
Great.
So this was like the communication event was the launch of this resource center. We identified like 50 different touch points where just having a verb to communicate to the person in charge of that touch point, ask yourself, does my work befriend my communication partner here?
Mhm.
Is that part of it? Is that happening?
Mhm.
And we went through this in a lot of different touch points. So my work with them is pretty comprehensive. It's top to bottom, inside and out. And
Great.
I love it because I get to use my method across so many different opportunities. And for people who really, really care about what they're bringing to the world, it's just my favorite thing right now.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Are you working with any other projects right now?
Thanks. Yeah. Oh, I have a lot of clients right now.
Yeah.
Maybe I can take like up to 5 more right now, but I've got a pretty full schedule. I work with
Awesome.
people all over the world. I'm doing
Beautiful.
one-on-one coaching,
Mhm.
helping people through various projects,
Mhm.
whether it's positioning them as an expert in something specific on LinkedIn or
Ah.
advising them on a transition and how to reposition themselves.
Mhm.
Or I have an international diplomacy project that I'm working on that's been taking a lot of time, but is thrilling to me. So I can't really talk about it, but it's one of my favorite things I've ever done and something that I'm really
Beautiful.
proud of and that will definitely have a tremendous impact on the world in the
Wow.
immediate.
Wow. I
Yeah.
look forward to that. I look forward to that.
Yeah. I'm really
What a-
excited to talk about it.
That's fantastic. Are there any other causes that you're very passionate about that you can talk about aside from communication?
Well, I love talking to entrepreneurs, and I love working with small businesses, but I also like helping big businesses who've lost sight or whose message gets muddied or
Mhm.
who have a reputation online that's not clear about why they are the best. And asking them, if there are points in their communication where they feel they've gotten lost and
Mhm.
helping them to find their way back.
Right.
Doing a lot of speaking engagements right now, doing workshops, and also
Awesome.
doing my one-on-one coaching clients.
That's
So
fantastic.
everybody's different, and really, for me, if I think about like a cause, sure, I've got like charities that are my favorites, like VH1 Save the Music Foundation.
Mhm.
I'd love to do something for them just because they're my favorite charity.
Okay.
But helping entrepreneurs is probably like my pet focus.
Mhm.
And beyond that, it's really just, gosh, anybody who really cares that what they have to say gets communicated effectively, I really want to help them to do
I
that.
hope that's everyone. That should be everyone because
Shouldn't it? Well, I agree.
what good what good is
I'll take everyone's
communication?
money, right?
Yeah. What good is What good is communication if it's not effective, right? I mean,
Right. And I really only want to work with people that it's really important to.
right.
So
And
that's really the differentiator for me. I really care about I care about helping people, especially when what they have to communicate is really important to them.
right. And that insinuates passion on their part, right? Oh, lost you a bit. Oh, there you are. That's fantastic. So I
Thank
want
you.
to know, in the interest of time, I won't keep you very much longer, but we talk a lot about open communication and a lot of outward communication, it does seem like. But what's your opinion and what's your stance? And do you make a point to emphasize the internal communication that we have
Oh, I
within
love
us?
that question.
Yeah.
So I don't usually work with people on that,
Hmm.
but it's interesting that you asked that because I mean, my method of communication is something that I do apply to myself.
Hmm.
I'm a practitioner of Gia Farakis's One Thought, One Action Creative Life Practice,
Okay.
and she's the creator of that method. And that is one of the things that has brought me to the place where I know that this is the work that I should be doing because it's so resonant with me, because it feels so right, like, right in here
Mm,
all the time.
wonderful.
And uh, as part of that practice, using my method for myself
Hmm.
is always part of it.
Right.
So when I think about my communication to myself,
Hmm.
we all have these thoughts
Hmm.
all day long about what we're good at, what we're not good at, what we're
Hmm.
good enough for, and really what's good enough for us.
Hmm.
So when I take my method of communication and I break it down and I ask myself how I'm communicating with myself,
Hmm.
what are the messages that I tell myself? Um, it's really fascinating to see what comes up all the time. And
Yeah.
I have to remind myself that my super objective, to empower a world of super communicators,
Hmm.
this is way more important than my anxiety about appearing on video, right? Which is a real thing for me.
Right.
And
Sure.
I like will break down if I think that like my eyebrows not filled in all the way, like oh my gosh, people won't be able to see my eyebrow. Uh, and I ask myself in that kind of a moment, am I communicating with myself about the right story here?
Right.
Am I being of service to my own super objective when I stress about things like that?
Hmm.
Does anybody really care about your eyebrows when what you really have to say is, I can save the world through communication?
Exactly. Exactly. What you have to say is more most important, right? That's what we're here for. That's what the
Yeah.
focus is on. And I know you don't have very much time. I do want to thank you very much for giving me um a precious chunk of your day. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you'd like to speak of? And where else can people learn about Lila Smith and what you do and how they can become start to use the 5-step intentional communication
Oh, well, I
method
would
in
love
their life?
to just thank you so much,
You're welcome.
for having me and for even wanting to have this conversation. It's not the typical kind of thing people talk about, right? Like we all know that we have to communicate better,
Hmm.
but knowing how to do it and actually having steps to
Hmm.
learn that you can practice
Hmm.
is what sets us apart, because it really is applicable across industries. It's applicable to anything in your life,
Hmm.
whether it's personal or professional. And so I would love to have everybody just look up the hashtag say things better on LinkedIn. And you should find my content there. You should see some videos that I've shared. I don't post a lot of content. I do a lot of work, one on one and with companies right now. So that's taking up a lot of my time. But I have published some content to give you an introduction to what it's like. You can also Google 10 tips, 10 days, Lila, and my FYI.to smart list will come up with links to 10 of my videos. And maybe you can share a link to
Absolutely.
your listeners as well.
I'll put all those links in the description.
Yeah, and that's free. It's totally
Yeah.
free. I just want people to be able to use it. I
Yeah.
want people to talk about it, and I want people to approach
Fantastic.
their own communication events with the tools that they already have if they just think about it.
That's brilliant. That's fantastic.
And you can find me on Instagram too if you feel like following like my travel journal.
Well,
I do Instagram stories of the different cities that I travel to. I'm somewhere different every week, so
oh, that's
there's always
cool.
something to see. You can
What's
follow
what,
my
what's your
stories there
handle?
at Lila Lasagna, and I'm
Lasagna.
not changing it.
That is
It's
funny.
LILALASAGNA.
Okay. Oh, GNA,
Yeah,
not GNE.
that's a good point. Right? No, I
Uh,
spell it the Americanized way, I guess.
and they can find you on LinkedIn, Lila,
Yes,
Lila Smith. I'll put all the
yes.
links down
And
below.
you can, thank you. And you
Uh,
can also just look up that hashtag, say things better, and I'll come up.
awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Lila. I bid you a
Thank
very, very
you.
great day, and I look forward to chatting
You
with you
too.
soon.
Have a good day, Arash.
Thank
I'll talk
you.
to you
You
soon.
too. Bye bye, Lila.
Bye.